Just like I'm in prison here.
Yeah. Everyone said that.
What's your inmate number?
The other guy said, the last time I did that,
I was captured by this film crew.
Yeah.
I'm asking for the world to come together.
Yeah.
They want $1 million for my release.
And a private jet.
Yeah, they want a private jet to be sent to France with the money in bags. All U.S. banknotes. My name is Michael Coleman. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a couple sustainability companies. I've launched the initiative Sustainability Valley here in New York. And one of my best qualities is really connecting people to what needs to be done in a town, city, or village, as well as connecting people to building out a vision.
Hi, my dear. Hi. How's it going? Good to see you.
Yeah.
Oh, hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So let's start off with this. You have an amazing face. Where did you get this face?
Well, it's called having two parents.
Plastic surgery?
It wasn't plastic surgery. I think it was genetics.
Nice.
But I
Genetics.
can't share the genetics with anybody else, unfortunately.
Okay.
So the face stays here.
An applause to this, to be naturally beautiful.
Unique.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
So, my dear, so what is this entrepreneurship that you have, and what do you do?
Yeah, so the entrepreneurship is something I've kind of always put in the back shelf. I've worked, in government, just in different types of community development things. But as I saw a need for strong visions in entrepreneurship in regards to sustainability, that's when I started launching this initiative. So I started a small boutique media company. We were putting out a new technology called the ad dryer, which was a dryer device with a TV screen on it that was connected to the internet, which would play ads in real time. And we pushed it out here in New York. Unfortunately, we had some manufacturing issues with our partners back home. And then from there, though, I was able to understand what supply chains look like, how to work with international partners. And so
what was your fascination with this? What did you want to...
Yeah.
I was always fascinated as a kid with technology. I'm curious with how things work. And so
as a kid, you are already 20. How old are you?
I'm 38. I'm 38.
Oh, yeah, 30.
Yeah, 38. So
Yeah.
I've had a couple careers in the
What do
middle.
you eat here? What do you eat
It's the
here?
baby face, the genetics, as you could say. But no, so I was very fascinated with development of technology and things like that, and definitely pushing very innovative technology into the marketplace. And so
Innovation towards what exactly?
Innovation towards exposing brands to people, really understanding correct how to get that media to the person without the person having to leave the comfort of their armchair, or having that captive audience a little bit more strategic. And
got it.
With this ad dryer, we were able to do that, and from that point on, I had a
hand dryer. It makes me think just
hand dryers. You put your hand in, it activates the TV screenplay.
Hand dryer.
You go into the restroom. No. You're not drying your hair.
Not the one that I
watching
used
TV
this
at the
morning.
same time. No. And so we were able to, absorb the captive audience because you're spending 4 minutes drying your hands and you're staring into open space. And so we were like, hey, why don't we put a TV screen here so you're actually seeing the ads play while you're
you go that
that TV screen. Now,
that part is always the boring one.
I know. I mean, how many times have we all stood there and stared into open space and people think we're nuts?
What about the urinal?
We weren't really that advanced just from the germ aspect of that. So we didn't want to go too much in that. We figured we'd get people on their way out of the bathroom, not as their way in. And so we started with that concept with a partner in Europe. And then from there, we were able to build into the advertising out-of-home space. And I had a friend of mine that ended up acquiring us that started this very annoying concept in America called gas pump TV. And that's the TVs at the pumps that when you're fueling your car, you're watching live TV. And so he acquired us because he liked the concept of what we're doing. And so I helped him build out his Eastern Coast
division. Do you ever think that going towards this way, we ever go to the, when you see the movies, like, what was the movie with the Tom Cruise, is very
Minority Report.
Minority Report. And there is all this advertising
he was inspired by Minority Report.
Really.
And that's why we came up with the gas pump TV concept.
So in the future, we are very much targeted to sell, right?
Yes, targeted to sold, and then follow that consumer and their journey through the experience.
And that's where you come in.
That's where I came in.
If you want to make that happen, if you want to make Minority Report happen.
Exactly. So when I met him, he had this vision of, the gas pump things. We already had these small little gas pump TVs all over the country. But he wanted to create a fully AI gas pump with a 32-inch touchscreen.
Wow.
So when you come up to the pump, it recognizes who you are and it caters an
It gives you
experience
exactly
to what you want.
could buy.
So you want to play the media you enjoy watching, and it also allows you to have the consumer brands that you need and you want and you've bought in the past. And so from a gas pump, from a convenience store owner, you're now pushing strategic things out to various different people.
I can
So does it
imagine
mean
some
that
people.
it changes depending on the person that is in
Correct.
front?
And it has a
Wow,
smile to
it's extremely
pay
bespoke.
concept, so you don't have to reach for your credit card.
I tell you the advertisement, the commercial, and this is so the husband gets out of the car and he goes, "Hey, sweetie, I'm gonna refuel the car." And she goes, "Okay, sweetie, thank you so much, I love you."
Yeah.
Oh, I love you too. Yeah. And he goes to the
know
pump,
where
and
it's
because he recognizes what he likes,
Yeah.
he starts playing porn. You know. And then she goes, "What was that?" Yeah.
We do have features that protect that, and we also protect the marriages. So don't worry about
Marco.
us
that would be
creating a
fun.
divorce rate here in America.
But that could give you a straight, you know,
It
it's
totally,
fun.
yeah.
And it
it's
gives you
funny.
the
I like it.
Absolutely,
The
yeah.
AI recognizes what you
Yeah,
like.
it
Absolutely,
brings
I
all your garbage right out to the forefront
Yeah.
at the gas pump, you know. So we developed that, and that was something that was very transformative, creating the first fully AI gas pump.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I
okay.
really got into sustainability because we had put in for a USDA grant for biofuel.
Yeah,
I knew
right.
nothing about
biofuel.
sustainable. I had a
Yeah.
friend out in Ireland that I got involved in the CBD trade,
Yeah.
did very well at it.
Oh.
But I said, this is something I'm not really interested in. And I said, but looking at the biofuel, I found out that hemp biofuel was a very powerful element.
What's
It was
the
something-
biofuel?
Yeah.
So biofuel was made from plants that create
Okay.
gas. And so it takes the place of gasoline.
Like you put a bunch
So-
of flowers inside, and the car will
You just stick all your daisies in your tank and you drive off into the sunset.
Yeah.
That's how biofuel works. No, it's actually...
you can pump some.
Yeah,
weed,
you get your car elevated, so
Very
you
romantic
join the
image.
NASA program with the biofuel.
So finally, drug dealers will be useful.
Yeah, that's how drug dealers are able to fly from other countries because they're fueled by the marijuana in their car. But no, the biofuel is actually made from seeds of plants crushed up,
Oh,
and there's a
okay.
fuel component that's there, and it's been used in the past. A lot of people don't know that Rudolf Diesel, who created the diesel engine, the first diesel engine ran in France in the late
With
1800s
seeds.
from peanut biofuel. So it didn't even run on
Wow.
petroleum,
I didn't know
it ran on peanut biofuel. Unfortunately, the German government wanted the engine because it was very powerful. And so they grabbed the engine from him, said he committed suicide. I mean, of course, we're not going to get into all the
said that.
conspiracy series here,
Which is
but
not
they
true,
put it
yeah.
into massive production and they added the petroleum element to it. So the
He's
diesel
probably in
engine...
Sicily with the Italian monster now.
He's still there from the late 1800s. He didn't age well, you know. He found the fountain of youth. But so that was how the biofuel first initially started in the market. It got removed because of the petroleum industry and how big it became very quickly.
Yes,
Wow.
yeah.
But I've been very interested in sustainable biofuel, and so we started a company called USH Brands that focuses
USH, yeah.
on consumer sustainable retail. So every product that we use is a hemp plastic biodegradable container
I love
that we
this.
put our products in.
Amazing.
And a lot of people said, "Oh, you can't do this on the mainstream consumer market." And I said, "Well, let's give it a shot." So we
Yeah,
became
yeah.
a direct-to-consumer Shopify, based business, e-commerce-wise. We sold to
Amazing.
all 50 states, 7 countries, and we're very fast and growing as a company here in
Amazing.
America.
Congratulations.
So, well, thank you.
What's
Well,
the name of the company?
It's
again?
called Miss Commando, chemical-free.
Miss Commando.
Miss Commando.
Commando.
You want to go Commando?
I love
this is the
that.
opportunity.
Oh,
No
lovely.
carbon. So that's what we've decided to do. But what I saw here in the town of Tuxedo and in the
Yeah.
Hudson Valley was
Yeah.
a lot of people don't know that the Green Initiative, the movement, was started here in Cornwall, in Orange County in 1960s.
Oh, did you say here in Cornwall?
Here in Cornwall in Orange County. So Cornwall is about 2 towns over from the town of Tuxedo.
Okay,
but Orange County was transformative in the sustainability movement.
Okay.
And so I said, I've always raising capital for other companies. Everybody wants to go to Silicon Valley because that's
Yeah.
where all the big VC funds are,
Yeah,
all the
exactly.
private banks
Yeah.
are. But I said, right here in our own backyard, we have all the power to create a sustainable movement globally.
Right.
Because if you look at even the royal family in Saudi Arabia, they're now moving into sustainable funds.
Yeah.
Europe has always been very sustainable minded.
Yes,
America's starting to get on the track
Yeah,
record
yeah,
of this. I said, but there's no home for Sustainability Valley.
Uh-huh.
So why don't we create Sustainability
infrastructure,
Valley
yeah.
right here in Town of Tuxedo?
Right.
And so
Wow.
that's what we were able to start pushing here, and that's what we're building.
Nice. And applause to that. I love that.
So
yeah.
you
Absolutely.
are the
Wow, wow.
Are
master
you from
behind
here?
the green corridor.
I guess you could say, yeah. I could say I'm the one
Okay.
who's really helping push this initiative.
Nice.
Okay.
Are you from here, from Tuxedo?
Yeah, so I was
Well,
actually born in the cold, frozen wilderness of Anchorage, Alaska. I moved to New York when I was
Wow.
2 years old. Yeah, and then I came here grew up in Orange County and then found myself in Tuxedo because I'm fascinated with the history of what this town was and what this place had become. And so I moved here about 6 years ago, and I have not left. And I said, you know what? If we're going to build an initiative, it starts right in our backyard.
Amazing.
So,
I love that. Yeah.
Beautiful.
But so you say our backyard because you should be from Alaska, right?
Yeah. Well, there's not much on an iceberg. There's not much in a glacier. So
But
we have to
you
start
moved
where the
there.
green stuff is here first. And then we'll get out to the glacier.
Yeah.
But you moved when you were 2. You
Yeah,
said,
we were 2.
right?
So I don't really
basically
remember.
you-
Yeah, I don't
okay,
remember
yeah.
much of
Do
Alaska.
you ever go back?
My
to
birth
Alaska?
certificate does have an Eskimo on it. So,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
I feel that's my only connection to the local Native Americans there of Alaska.
Have you ever gotten back there?
Yeah,
I
good.
haven't, but I hopefully will be back there soon. So
No,
I want to
nice.
definitely visit and get some good snowboarding and skiing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So yeah, that's what we've been doing with that, and it's starting to grow. Other towns have now seen that the sustainable, because New York has become very bullish on the sustainable investment, and so Town of Tuxedo has actually
Bullish, like
bullish
like
in
to put-
investing. They want to invest heavy in sustainability.
Oh, okay.
The problem is there's a disconnect between government and private entities. So a lot of these private companies receive sustainable funding,
Right.
and they try to create products that are sustainable because it looks good for the corporate messaging. But there's a disconnect to helping the towns become sustainable.
Wow.
And so that's where this initiative, Sustainability Valley, creates a private-public partnership that
They're
kind of
filling the
brings
gap and
brings it
helping
all
the
I love
together
that, I
under
love that,
one
yeah.
I love this.
umbrella. And so we become the Silicon Valley of the East Coast.
You facilitate that.
Nice.
Yes,
Amazing.
yeah, and so that's what
Yeah.
we're seeing here now.
So what's your work here in terms of stages? Because now it's here, right?
Yep.
So what do you do on a daily basis to
That's a good question.
bring the plant
That's a good
forward,
question.
right?
So a lot
What
of
about
it,
my questions?
yeah, well, no, you have even more greater questions.
Yeah, I
you know, but all
I
these
know.
great questions, I don't know if I can answer them all. No, to actually, if your point, that's hard because in this industry we have to educate, we have to lead. And I tell companies this all the time. A lot of times people aren't educated around what sustainability can be. We think
Yeah,
of solar,
exactly.
we think of wind,
Yeah.
and that's it. Maybe a little hydro here, but we don't think about hemp fiber. We don't think about, peanut biofuel. We don't
Very
think
good
about soybean. All these different plants that can become a biodegradable agent for plastics, for fiber, for paper. I mean, hemp
Everything.
parchment was actually what the Constitution's written on.
Wow,
a lot of people
nice.
don't know that the United States dollar, the US dollar, is actually got hemp fiber in it. So,
were
hemp
mentioning
fiber,
hemp fiber.
yeah,
It's
is
amazing, yeah.
really been a huge strategic
fiber.
foundation
Hemp,
here in America.
yeah, from the hemp
Yep,
seeds.
from the stock, from the
Oh,
actual
hemp fiber.
industrial fiber, from
Yeah,
the
yeah,
hemp
yeah.
stock.
Yeah.
And the plants actually, there's the marijuana plant that we all
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
but
yeah.
the longest point of the hemp family, there's 3 plants,
Yeah.
and there could be more. But the main one we're focused on is the industrial one, which was what rope back in the old sailor days of the 1800s was made out of. And so that's what we focus on because Europe has used hemp since the Middle Ages, and the United States has used it since the conception of this country. And so now that we're seing the Farm Bill has been passed, there's been a new understanding of how powerful this fiber is, and that our U.S. dollars are using it. The Constitution's written on it.
Right,
George Washington used it in his Continental uniforms.
It's the right time to milk.
This is the right time to build the initiative.
To milk.
To milk the hemp plant. We want that biofuel from there.
Actually, even this sounds to me like we talked about a lot about Renaissance, the concept of Renaissance
Yeah.
connected
Yes.
with Town of Tuxedo.
Renaissance,
And
exactly.
this, by you
This is a
talking
true
about the
Renaissance.
Constitution paper being made in fiber, and it kind of is you're coming back. and
Oh,
bringing it
absolutely.
back.
And I really hope, and I think the towns hope too as well, is that we go back to the Renaissance, what Italy saw with Da Vinci and Michelangelo.
Exactly.
And if we can create the platform for that Renaissance to flourish, every Michelangelo and Da Vinci is going to come here and start building their greatest work.
I love this.
And so that's
great.
That's what we're looking to do.
Orator. I love that. Yeah.
Very, very good.
Very well done. Very
yeah.
well done.
It's amazing.
It's connecting it all. And I think that's what Tuxedo is doing, and that's what we hope to accomplish with what we're doing.
Nice. No, you've got the right energy, the right path. What's
The
your
right passion. as well.
the right passion?
passionate, yeah.
What's your vision within the next 5 years?
So my vision within the next 5 years is really turning the town of Tuxedo into the gateway of the South to Sustainability Valley. So Sustainability Valley is going to run from New York City up to Albany, and it's going to be called a power corridor between all these municipalities that are connected. And every municipality is going to have an area of responsibility. So Tuxedo will be, I call it the green finance. So this will be the Wall Street for green sustainable investment because
love
the
this.
town of Tuxedo was built on a finance style of the Gilded Age. That's all started here. The next town, Woodbury, has Woodbury Commons. You have a lot of great stores there. That could be sustainable retail. So stores are now integrating biodegradable packaging within that. And then the next town could be biofuel and green tech. Right. So now we have 3 towns that are all supporting each other in this initiative. But what that's done is it's created a platform for private industry now to invest, because all the laws and the policies have changed to welcome that renaissance, like you just said. And so I see Town of Tuxedo in the next 5 years really becoming a sustainable hub for the future. Because this town was built on innovation. I mean, if you think about it, we created the greatest fashion statement in the world, the dinner jacket known as the tuxedo. And then the atomic age was formed here with Alfred Loomis and Loomis Laboratory. You had Einstein here, Niels Bohr, Oppenheimer. So here are the stages. We created fashion in the early 1900s. And then we have the 40s, we create the atomic age here. So what's the next age? The green age, the sustainable age. And so that's why I think the town is going to be positioned in the next 5 years to be that sustainable age.
I love it. I mean, and plus to that, you have a clear past, a clear present, and a clear future.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I love that.
I'm not going to ask you if any other path cross your mind, because I can see you are very much on your path.
I have plenty of paths, but I want to know. I want to know, because you're very intelligent, you know what you're saying, and you're very prepared. Where is this coming from? Because when did you start? What was your challenge in life?
The challenges in life that propelled me to this point. I mean, that's a good question. I think we all try to find our way. Like if you look at Steve Jobs, he started in a garage. And he was always pulling things apart because he had a curious mind. And I always tell people, I said, if you have a curious mind, you can change the world. Because you always question everything. But it's not like you question it to destroy it. You question it to build it back better.
Correct.
And so these people like Larry Ellison, Steve Jobs, even Elon Musk, all have curious minds. And so my journey, I think, in my life has always been, I come from a family that's very stoic, very stable, and they're like, well, you need to get a stoic, stable job. And I said, well, I'm a very creative person.
I love a stoic, stable job.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm a very creative person. And I used to drive my parents nuts because, I would take everything apart in the house, like the vacuum. I mean, my mom would go into the closet, pull out the vacuum, and it would come out in pieces. And she'd be like, Mike, but that was me really understanding the environment in the world I lived in. And of course, I did the stoic jobs, to kind of keep the parents happy and try to, get that stability. But I hadn't found myself. I hadn't found myself. And I felt like I was dying. I was part of the institution instead of the people that were the visionaries that built the institution. And so what I was able to do is saying, okay, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Now I know it's very unsafe. It's very unstable. You're going to be a pioneer. There's a lot of going out into the unknown. You don't know if you're going to be broke eating ramen noodles. You don't know one day. It's all part of the journey because it's like, you think about the West. What was that massive migration out west to California? There was all these people that lived in New York and the East Coast that were like, hey, there's gold out there. Hey, there's land and property out there. Like, Did you know you're gonna die? Like, did you know So here's a great one. Stanford University, which became the anchor of Silicon Valley. People ask, like, wow, everybody wants to go to Stanford to be graduated there. Steve Jobs talks about his commencement speech at Stanford. I said, but how did Stanford get there? Well, you know what? Stanford was from New York. And Leland Stanford was a guy from New York where his brother said, you know what? Don't go out west. He's like, there's gold out there. There's future out there. There's land out there. He's like, you'll die. You'll get cholera. You'll be scalped. Something's going to happen on the Oregon Trail. And him and his wife took that pioneer journey into the unknown, went to California. They struck it rich in the minerals. And then all of a sudden, he started building out what California could be because other pioneers started showing up from the East. And they said, hey, we want to anchor here. And so then Stanford becomes governor. He becomes senator. And then he has a son, unfortunately, who passed away.
He has a group. But
he has teammates now. And so they had no children. So his wife and him said, listen, we're going to take our massive wealth and we're going to endow it into a university. And that was the founding of Stanford University. So he started educating a whole future of people. But this is how Silicon Valley happened. David Packard, Secretary of Defense under, in the 60s and 70s, went to Stanford. So he's like, I'm Secretary of Defense. I want to come back home. There's nothing here. So what does he do? He says, I'm going to create an initiative because there's a lot of silicon chips being created here. I'm going to help build this valley, and we'll call it Silicon Valley. And so he invested a lot of government infrastructure in that, ends up investing in creating Hewlett-Packard, David Packard. And what happens? Steve Jobs is a young boy, picks up the phone, calls, and says, I want an internship at HP. And he speaks to David Packard.
Yeah.
So now David Packard's using Stanford as an institution to foster growth here with Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
But he's also educating the next leaders, the next visionaries. So now he's got Steve Jobs interning at HP.
Yeah.
Larry Ellison's now moving his new idea of Oracle there.
Yeah.
And so he created this platform.
Yeah.
I call it the coral reef principle, where you sink the bus to grow all the coral around it. So seeing that and being like, wow, that vision is incredible. That's what made me to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
because I wanted that same. I had that same pioneer spirit. But I also had a great grandfather who I never met. My father knew him when he was a kid. Who had worked with
$10 million.
Yeah, I wish. if that was the case, I wouldn't be here. No, he had worked for Curtiss Wright Aeronautical, and he was a very quiet guy. And I don't think he got a lot of credit. But he actually
you didn't get from him.
Yeah, he had a curious mind, and he was constantly tinkering. And a guy by the name of Charles Lindbergh reached out to him and said, hey, I want to fly across the Atlantic Ocean, but I've never built a plane like this to do that. And so he hired my grandfather. My grandfather helped build the Spirit of St. Louis, which was the first flight of its kind across the ocean.
Amazing.
And so my inspiration is him, because he was a little bit of an entrepreneur. He took went into the unknown to develop something that became so transformative in aviation everywhere, but also connected America with Europe. It connected Asia with Europe, Africa with Europe. Wow. And so for me, I'm inspired by that type of pioneer and what he was able to do, especially Charles Lindbergh going into the unknown and connecting all those continents together. And so that kind of got me out of the institution of working in this stable, stoic job and saying, you know what? Visionaries are where I belong, and that's right here in the pioneer spirit of America. So
that's where
I just started finding myself there, and I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up.
I mean, amazing. Applause to that.
I think we're all getting there eventually. We'll get here right here in the library, hopefully.
I think we can totally sign off with this.
Yes,
this is perfect.
Yes.
My dear, thank you so much.
Hey, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
So much.
Definitely.
I love the green apple.
Oh, thank you. I know. I made the shirt on Amazon real quick here.
Nice.
Let's sign off together with a finger. So let's see who.
Absolutely.
Next.
Yeah.